Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We are live, which means we can take your comments and questions as we go through the show. But it is now time for Tech Briefs, where every week Digital Trends and Flipboard bring you up to date with what's going on in the world of tech and what has happened this last week. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined now by Ken Young. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Greg, nice to see you again.
Good to see you, too. As always, lots to talk about. But I think the biggest thing this week, at least starting it off, has been the talk about Samsung with their Unpacked event, which happened on August 7th, I believe is what the actual date was that took place, where we finally got to see the unveiling of the Note 10 and the Note 10 Plus. What stood out for you from that?
Look, I think the secrets have already been released in terms of the Note 10 announcement. What's kind of surprised some people was the fact that there were two Note devices. Actually, there are now three Note 10 devices. Originally, there's always been one Note device and then multiple Galaxy S devices. Now, this time, there's two Note devices. One, that there's the Note 10, as you mentioned, the Note 10 Plus, and now there's a Note 10 5G that will be exclusively on Verizon. Different sizes and different capabilities for all. The headphone jack, as we mentioned last week, is no longer in existence. That's been done away. The Bixby button, which surprised hasn't been really talked about, is not on the Note 10 device. So, and in fact, there was no mention of Bixby at all at this hour-plus long event. So that's rather telling, and who knows what's going to happen with Bixby. What was interesting was the Microsoft partnership, which we'll get to in a little bit, but also specifically the Note, pardon the pun, the fact that it's all about productivity. This is a phone with the S Pen with new capabilities that lets you control your device. So it's basically like a remote control. But then there's also camera features that let you do so much more. And I believe this device is purely made for creators, and it's going to be something that people are going to be doing much more stuff on versus doing on an iPad or even on an iPhone.
Yeah, I have to say the S Pen I was actually impressed with personally. I've never really used a pen, so it hasn't been something that's just been in my wheelhouse. But seeing some of the capabilities that they added into it, I was pretty impressed with that. And also, like you mentioned, the cameras. I think it's the Note 10 Plus has that depth sensing camera, and showing some of that augmented reality abilities, which I think is really exciting. There's a lot of room there for phone manufacturers and really on the software side to expand on. And this seems like a phone that maybe we're going to get a look at, where this could go. And if this is the first iteration of this, what we're going to get to see later is pretty amazing. And you also talked about that Microsoft partnership, which is also pretty interesting on how they're expanding upon that. Satya Nadella showed up, so they brought in, a big name to be there on stage. Good PR push, good pictures for that. But what was the actual meat of that? What does that mean?
So this is actually more of a collaboration. Look, as I mentioned earlier, the Note 10 is all about productivity, and you look at the difference of the three sizes: the Note 10, the Note 10 Plus, and the Note 10 5G. The Note 10 Plus is where you're actually going to get a lot of the goodies with. That being a better battery, a better camera, and much more capabilities, especially around doing things such as AR doodles and the like. And this is something that I believe Microsoft wants to get a part of. And what you get with this partnership, and yes, Satya Nadella did come on stage with Samsung CEO DJ Ko, and they're touting the capabilities of more integration with Microsoft. That means Office apps will now be on Samsung devices. And there's actually going to be capabilities in the future where you're going to be able to take phone calls from your that are being sent to your Samsung device on your Windows device. So this is going to be a lot more of a tight-knit type of integration, and who knows what's going to happen with this. But I think this is going to be something where Microsoft's seeing that, look, we are not going to be doing phones ourselves, so we need to be better integrated with the phones that people are using. And of course, if you're going to be using your Note device for things such as doing business on the ground, being mobile without needing a laptop or a tablet, then we need to be a part of the Note 10 series. And this is going to be very interesting. And if you recall, like Apple at one point when they came out with the iPad, they had this whole campaign where they're saying, "Oh, what's a computer? What's a laptop?" This is actually the Note series has predated that campaign, and it's kind of an interesting tie-in where, like, you can have the iPad being the new computer, but realistically, the Note 10 was predominantly the one that started it off at being like, look, you don't need a computer, you don't need a tablet. everything you need to do to be in business can be done on your Note device.
Right, and for the price of what they are too, and it's good to see some more functionality that comes in there. I think the high-end one, 5G fully loaded, was $1,400. Not too bad for the regular Note 10, the lowest model at $950, which is weird to say that's not too bad because that's what the going rate is for a flagship phone anymore is $1,000. But we'll see where that part. What's that?
You can get two of those of a Note 10 for the price of a foldable. Let's be honest with that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, we'll see where that goes. So a lot to unpack, so to speak, from that, and lots of information at Digital Trends and Flipboard. I know I had to do the plan on that one. But let's go on to some other news here. We've got this week. We're talking about a partnership. Now let's talk about one that's split up, and that is Amazon and FedEx. Talk about a surprising move, at least to me. Perhaps industry analysts didn't think so, but FedEx announcing that they are no longer going to deliver Amazon packages. And I think it's about 1.3% of their overall revenue. And that seems like a really huge move on behalf of FedEx.
Well, I think if you have to look at it specifically, and both companies are calling this, I believe it's an unconscious unbundling or a conscious unbundling. I forget the specific phrase from Amazon exec that was reported, but you're right. This is 1.3% of FedEx's revenue, and it's important to note that this is only the air service. That Amazon is not doing FedEx. FedEx is not going to be doing air service deliveries for Amazon. However, they will still be doing last mile delivery for Amazon. So there is still some sort of a relationship. So this is not a full-on Taylor Swift type of song where they're never ever going to get back together again. But I think got to do it.
Yeah.
But look, I think this is certainly interesting. And does this mean that Amazon's making headway in terms of their own delivery network? Right. I mean, they're already using things such as the U.S. Postal Service. They're using UPS. They formerly used FedEx and everything else, and they have their own. So, at which point is Amazon basically going to say, look, we want to own the entire supply chain from start to finish, and this is just the start of that movement.
Yeah, it does certainly seem that way. I mean, they're opening up that new facility that they bought. I think they're going to have 100 planes ready to go that are Amazon planes just for Prime deliveries, and they're working that. I think that whole supply chain thing is absolutely right. They're working from the beginning to the end. They want to be in control of all of that, even encouraging some of their employees to go out and start delivery services to work for Amazon. So yeah, we're going to see more and more of this, and I think you're going to see more and more just Amazon Prime vans and delivery vehicles. I think it's all going to be branded by them eventually, but we'll see where it ends up. Let's talk about one more thing, and that is the ever-present TV streaming wars. Everybody wants to start their own streaming service, but one I think that's really going to disrupt things is Disney Plus. Disney Plus, when it comes out in November, I can't remember the exact date, but it's $6.99 a month, and now they've added on part of the bundle of their huge package of services that they own. They own pretty much everybody. So they have announced that they're going to have a bundle package of Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and ad-supported Hulu for $12.99 a month, which, me personally, I think that's a great deal.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I'm paying a ton of money right now to my cable provider, and I'm looking right now to try and find ways to cut the cord. But I think these type of bundles are going to be really interesting to see how long they can go on. I believe, for me personally, I am very interested in that. I mean, I love Disney, ESPN Plus. I can get sports, and obviously Hulu. You get a bunch of all the all these great shows that are on Hulu, including *Handmaid's Tale*. But I think this is going to be very interesting for those that may have kids. They may love sports. This is the whole kit and caboodle. But I mean, at $12.99, you're paying this, but you're also paying. But when you add it up with all the other streaming services that you have, and you're right, everybody's doing it these days. CBS has it, NBC, Disney. Who else? I mean,
AT&T.
AT&T. Well, I mean, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
They're thinking about another one right off the bat.
Right.
But look, I think once you add this all up, I mean, at which point do you find that all this a la carte type of streaming services? Do you pay more than what you paid with an all-in-one type of package with your cable provider? It'll be very interesting to see how long these bundles actually last. I mean, right now it's like, look, it's $12.99 for right now for like a year, or is it will Disney wind up changing it later on down the road? Netflix is experiencing loss in terms of their whole streaming services. So they've been gradually increasing the price of their subscriptions as well. So this is like $12.99, great deal, but at which point does Disney and other services start to tinker with that pricing model, and then we realize that things aren't as rosy as they originally appeared.
Yeah, I think the price is definitely going to go up from there, but they may have me at the opening gates with that price. They may get me in the door.
I'm trying it out.
Yeah. Well, as always, Ken, it is a pleasure to have you on here and to talk about this. This is Tech Briefs. This is our weekly show here on Digital Trends Live, where we talk about the trending tech topics from the last week and bring you up to date. I also want to say that we are now a podcast as well. So you can download the Tech Briefs podcast with myself and Ken wherever you get podcasts. Go there, find it. Really fun, and that'll keep you up to date too. So wherever you are, you can always know what's happening in the world of tech. And Ken, thank you.
No problem. See you next week.
Talk to you next week. All right.